That's what I was telling. Kyle has been texting me. He was like, why are you guys doing Marvel podcasts if you hate it? I went through like the whole spiel of like, well, there's a reason to watch it, and I didn't expect to hate it, and here we are, and just kind of like watching things once a week, you just kind of like, they become a little samey and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, but like Marvel fans are kind of rabid, so like, who's the audience? I was like, well, we just kind of like...
He keeps asking me that. He's like, who's the audience? And I'm like, the audience is whoever listens. Like, I don't...
That's what I said. I was like, Andrew and I just kind of do that. Like, these are the conversations we have. We just hit record.
He can't wrap his brain around it. My parents can't either. When we did the Power Rangers podcast, my dad was just like, who listens to this? And I was like, I don't understand the question.
These are the conversations we have. We just decided to hit record and post it.
I have come on a mission of gravest consequence. For I am the Watcher. Member of an ancient race far older than man. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere. But now mankind faces the greatest danger it has ever known. The danger of
the Watchers of Earth. 199,999.
Welcome to the Watchers of Earth 199,999. I'm your host, Andrew, and joining me as always is my co-host, Seth.
Still here.
Our third co-host, Joe, couldn't be here today because...
we don't have a target audience?
Because we don't have a target audience.
Hey, that works because Hawkeye targets. Oh my gosh, this was great. Thanks so much, Kyle.
See, when Kyle asks who the podcast is for, we say him.
It's for you. Stop throwing us into the depth, man.
Our fourth co-host, Uatu, is here, but he has sworn only to watch and never interfere.
So today we watched the first 3 episodes of Hawkeye, which originally aired November 24th and December 1st, directed by some guy, because it was not where I expected, created by Jonathan Igla. Series based on Marvel Comics superhero Hawkeye, centering on the adventures of young Avenger Kate M. Bishop, who took on the role after the original Avenger Clint Barton. These synopsises are getting way worse.
Yes.
Is Kate Bishop related to Bishop? They both use ranged weapons, and they both have a metal arm.
I don't know why that hit me so well.
That was the dumbest joke ever.
I think that's why it hit me so well.
So, Andrew, in a sentence or less, what did you think?
I feel like this is going to be one of those episodes where we're on opposite ends because I liked it, and usually if I like it, you hated it. There are some caveats here, but I thought this is so far as only the first half. For the first time, I'm not ahead of you in anything, so I've watched exactly as much as you have. I think this is the best Marvel show. Low bar, though.
Well, Andrew, you are correct. I also loved this. I was really impressed. And I was thinking during it that we have thrown Jeremy Renner under the bus a lot. Granted, he hasn't been in a lot of movies. But I remember at one point when we first learned that he lives off the grid, and I was like, that's a better show, or that's a better movie. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of what we got. And it's fun to watch Jeremy Renner play Hawkeye, who wants nothing to do with the Marvel movies.
Yes.
And that's a bit.
He's us.
That's a bit of the Marvel movies suck, yeah. But, it feels appropriate, and it's just, fun to just watch it. It could have been anybody. This could have been any show or whatever. But it's just kind of this weird show about, this superhero is just, being a superhero sucks. And, I don't want to do it, and you shouldn't do it, and it's a lot of sacrifice, and yada, yada, yada. And I was just like, this is sweet. And it's really, we've complained about this too. It's super street level so far.
But it also has him doing the most comic booky things he's done in the entirety of the Marvel Universe, including the movie where he fought a giant purple spaceman.
Yeah? Did he fight a giant purple spaceman?
He said he fought Thanos, and I thought, oh yeah.
Does he just tell us
that? He was in that fight somewhere, probably.
Was he in that movie? I didn't think he existed.
Remember? Because half his hair was gone.
What? Because it's a snap? He lost half his hair? What are you talking about?
You made that joke. Don't you remember? He's in that. He's Ronin. That's where the whole Ronin suit came from. Ronin is a spaceman. He's blue. That's Ronin's hood.
I'm making a joke. I know
I can't.
better
It's hard to tell sometimes.
No, I know
with you.
better than that. I know he's Ronin because the show makes abundantly
Yeah, but
clear.
it was in Infinity or Endgame that he was Ronin.
Not gonna lie, I forgot entirely all of that.
You don't remember he had that stupid haircut, that
No.
like weird
I
mohawk.
don't remember any of this. The last time I remember Clint Barton is
All you
when
did was
he
make
goes-
fun of how stupid his hair. Hold on, I'm gonna send you this, and everyone's
I'm
gonna
sure
get to
I
listen
did,
to you.
but dude, that was like 2 weeks ago.
That was not 2 weeks ago. That was like 2
That was
months
a long
ago.
time ago. That was a long time ago. But no, I really liked, I agree with you. There's caveats, but there's a lot of really good stuff in this. And before I forget, I do want to say, so I was looking up some trivia so that I could lay it on our target audience, which Kyle does not believe exists. So here's some trivia for you. So Kate Bishop's phone shows her to be texting Clint Barton in one of the episodes. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm. I remember that she texts him and then she like tries to call him or something.
Yeah, those are different sections, but yes, she texts him. So Kate Bishop's phone shows her to be texting Clint Barton, quote, "Miss me yet? Send. Don't pretend to be busy with your friends. Send. We both know that you don't have any. Send." However, Haley Steinfeld, who is only pressing the keys to type approximately AMSSJSNSHZAKBAMJZJSHUXJ. So thank you, internet sleuths, for letting us know that this is a production and a show, and actors don't necessarily text. What the fuck is this shit? How about this hair?
You don't remember this?
Oh my god, I kind of do now, but this mohawk look? Jeremy Renner. Nah, man, nah. Good thing the snap was undone.
Anyway,
Did I make the snap joke, or did you make it?
you did.
That's a good joke.
It is a good joke.
That's a
that you
really
made.
good
I
joke,
should have just
Seth.
told you I made it.
You should have. I wouldn't have known any better. And I don't think we have a target audience. Kyle would tell us we didn't, and they would not tell us that I made the joke. I would just live in blind rage that you made it.
So let's just cut here.
Let's
in.
just jump in backwards down a building and shoot an arrow in the air as our special move. So I'm going to start out. Oh, I beat you to it.
Go for it.
I liked it when I want to start.
Or you really hated it if you wanted to start.
Oh, it's like plants where you can either overwater them, underwater them, not enough sunlight, too much sunlight. It's a good episode when we avoid talking about the episode. I know this whole season, 6 hours, is going to be Bishop's origin story. But I thought this intro was a really good way to do an origin story and just like show us or have us take us through the opening titles, and be like, here's all her trophies for all the stuff she needs to be a superhero.
I agree.
I really like that.
I personally don't care for... This is like a me thing, not a show thing.
The Avengers opening?
Yeah, just because it makes sense. Something like an alien invasion in a world where nothing more than a guy in a robot suit has happened publicly. An alien invasion is a big thing that is going to change people's lives, especially a girl who was 22 at the time of the show, and was however old she was.
13 or something?
Yeah, it looks like it was in 2012 that happened, so about
Yeah.
10 years ago. That is something that is going to shape your life, and that's going to be like a big moment that matters, but it's the same thing that I always complain about in these, and that's that only like 2 or 3 events happen in the Marvel Universe, and we keep going back to them, but none of them feel like they actually mattered. We just keep going back to the snap. There's a couple references to what happens in Age of Ultron, but like for the most part, it's just like the invasion of New York and the snap like keep getting mentioned and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't feel like we ever actually really see anything of it. It doesn't really matter.
We don't
This is
see the
most
fallout of it.
This is the most we've seen of anything close to not even fallout, but it just like I guess the repercussions of it. And it's just like weird to keep echoing back to the same couple damn things over and over again. Even though I know it makes sense from the standpoint that these movies exist in, it's just something that's like frustratingly small to me.
Well, I would have liked more here, and frankly, I would have liked a show here. But like, I thought it was a fun visual scene of like seeing the invasion of New York through the windows and just people reacting to that. But I agree with you, and some of my big problems with this show so far are, like you said, like the biggest thing that's happened in the world so far is that like, a robot man blew space lasers? No, that's at this. What's
before the Avengers movie happened, the only
what's the biggest thing that happened?
Semi-public thing that happened was that a robot, like a robot man in a robot suit
exists.
Because he had the adventure of Iron Man and Iron Man 2 before this happened. Because like Thor was not like necessarily a big public thing. It happened in what seemed to be like a small town in like, I don't know, Idaho or Kansas or something. Not that wouldn't like make news or whatever, but it's just like it doesn't feel like that big of an event that really affected things. No one's talking about the Thor stuff.
Well, and it's weird because, so after this opening scene in 2012 in the invasion of New York, where Kate's like, family is in turmoil and stuff like that, her father dies in the wreckage.
Her father looks weirdly like Pierce Brosnan wearing a very bad wig. It's weird.
But like after all this, they're like at the funeral for her father, and she's just like, I want a bow. And I was thinking, your father died, aliens invaded. This would blow my fucking mind. You know what I mean? Where's the, how do you get, and I understand it's like a movie, you need shortcuts and things like that, but that was a thing. And to kind of extend on that, there's the Captain America musical, which is only 9 years. That's like 9 years after 2011, and being like, the firefighters saved the Twin Towers and they killed the Iraqis and that was great. We're singing about it because it's a cool thing. But like, I was just thinking,
everything about the Rogers musical
is fucking bonkers.
Is bonkers.
How about
it's
why would he even go to, why would Clint even go to this thing and be like, hey, Tony's dead, Steve is lost in time, Black Widow's dead, why are we singing about this? This is inappropriate out the wazoo.
So when I was saying before we started recording that I feel like we could have talked about each individual episode for
this is an hour on its own.
I have so many things.
Subscribe to our Patreon. Here is an hour.
I'm absolutely baffled that Rogers is not something we can watch on Disney Plus right now. And honestly, it is ridiculous that it hasn't been announced. By the end of the Hawkeye first season, I guarantee they're going to announce Rogers as something
people are going to love it because that's what it is.
That's what it's made for. It's not made in this universe. It's made as like a fan service thing. And that's like fine, but it highlights a lot of my problems with the Marvel Universe in that it wants to have its cake and eat it too, and it doesn't really care about how it gets there. It doesn't care about how that cake is baked. Mm-mm. Like, there's a lot of things about this musical. It's bafflingly inappropriate. Like, astoundingly inappropriate.
Especially the fact that it knows it is, because it focuses on Clint being like, this is fucked up. I'm going through serious PTSD. And everyone's just like, Dad, this is our fun Christmas musical. Why are you complaining? And it's just like,
it's also weird. The song is bonkers. The dumbed down like costumes are kind of funny, but like the song is bonkers. The fact that like, I understand that for Roger's life, the Avengers moment is like a big thing, but like, do they do the fucking Thanos snap? Does it go through his entire goddamn life?
Yeah.
Like, how much of this is public information?
What if you're just sitting there watching the Thanos snap?
This is about Rogers, but it's basically about the Marvel Universe. It should just be called Marvel the Musical. We only see one song.
Yeah, the Avengers the musical. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, what else? This is the Battle of New York, fucking Rage Against the Machine. But
like, okay, I did like semi-watch this first episode when it first premiered while I was working, and then I realized like I wasn't paying attention, and I stopped around when Kate put on the Ronin suit. But the first time through, there was one extra character, and I was like, I don't know who the fuck that is. This time, I realized who it was because they sang it, and then Hawkeye points it out, but it's Ant-Man, who wasn't there. Yeah. And I know that that's there for a joke, and I have not seen Hamilton. For all I know, I have no interest in Hamilton. For all I know, there's people in Hamilton that weren't actually there. I don't know, maybe that's like an in-joke for that. But to choose Ant-Man, and later on in the second episode when they're, or maybe it's still the first episode, when they're walking around, there's like people dressed as superheroes in New York, and one of them is Ant-Man. Why would Ant-Man be in this? Ant-Man is not a public superhero. People only know him from two things, and both of them were horribly negligent destruction. The fucking airport battle, where he fought against other superheroes and blew up planes.
And the coast.
Yeah, when he was in the fucking bay and he was like burst out of the water. And I guess he saved a couple people, I think. I don't really remember what happened. He looks big,
he's cool.
But like, no one knows Ant-Man. He's not publicly known. He's not like one of the Avengers that everybody knows. It's not like
a Thor
It's not
thing.
like people know he fought Thanos, because no one knows. Like, everyone hears what happened about Thanos, but like,
no one realized he crawled up his butthole.
But like, Spider-Man was there, Captain Marvel was there, like all these other people were there. That it's just weird to me.
It's not even
it's
like
weird that he's
Ant-Man
in
is
this
a fan favorite. I mean, obviously, like outside of the universe, whatever. But like in universe, it'd be one thing if like Thor wasn't a part of the Avengers, and it was just like, oh, but like whatever, he saved this town, and everyone's like, yeah, we worship Thor now. He's our god. I get it. You're right. I mean, it makes no sense for Ant-Man. You know, they wouldn't even put him in to just be like, well, everyone knows and loves Ant-Man. But I was baffled that they thought this was okay to do. And you're right. Does this go up to the snap? The invasion of New York was 9 years ago, but the snap was what? 3 years ago, 4 years ago? And people sitting in that audience are going to sit there and say, like, oh, I was vanished. Why are we making a fun sing-song about me who was vanished? Like, I did not exist.
This is about Rogers and his life, which I don't know how much of this people, like, I know he has a museum and everything, and I know that the Avengers are a big part of his life, so of course, like, if you tell the story of his life, the invasion of New York is something that would get told, but like, when they talk to their mom later, and she asks how it was, they say we left halfway through, I believe. So I assume it does go up to Thanos. Because what do you do after the Avengers? Like his super spy missions that no one knows about? Blowing up S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Here's our confidential military missions in our musical.
Because like I could understand if like it's Roger's life and it goes up to the event of the Avengers where he's a public superhero and that's the end of the play. But this is like apparently like the big like showstopper in the middle before everybody takes a break to go pee.
So when he's like, I'm going to go get some air. And then his daughter meets him outside the theater and she's like, I get it, like, you missed Natalie and all this, like, Natalie died, and yada, yada, yada. And I understand that, like, Clint was very close to Natalie, but also, Tony died. And everyone loved Tony, and Tony's just there. And it's not like 100 years passed. It's like, hey, Tony died like 4 years ago. And here's this fun musical where he's dancing and singing.
And it's a weird thing also, like, with his ego and the hero worship that these movies have, I could see Tony, if there was a musical called Stark.
But even
about
then, like,
how
Tony's not making
great
that
he is.
for his own self. Tony...
Yeah, he's dead. But, like, I just, like, I could see that a little more, but like this whole thing is fucking bad.
I could see if Tony was still alive and he made like a Tony musical. He wanted to get a Tony, so he made the Tony. That's a theater joke if you weren't aware.
Like I could see like a movie out, and I get that this is like taking place in New York and like Broadway is a big thing, but like I could see a movie coming out that's like Battle for New York, the Avengers story.
What if they just made Iron Man and they just showed clips from 2008 and that was like the movie he made?
Yes.
But I was totally thrown aback and just thinking...
Like I said, I will be... And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if they put it on Disney Plus, we're watching it. I gotta see it.
We're catching up. We gotta watch something.
It's insane. But it's also just like, it's insane. Like, I'm not gonna say it wasn't amusing. Like, it's like...
It was amusing for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
It was amusing, like watching a train wreck.
It is just like fascinatingly insane where I was like, if this entire play exists, I need to see it.
And I understand that it's like...
every song. I need to see every stupid dance. How about Black Widow is a knockout that can knock you out?
How about she's dead in this universe? How about somebody wrote that line and somebody was like, dude, she's dead. And it's like, fuck it. Who cares? We're making a
What you're telling me is she can't sue.
Yeah, like, what is she going to sue? I mean, and I understand that, like, these are fictional people, but in universe, they are so real. They are real and admired. And to just, like I said, it felt like writing in 2020, writing a 9/11 musical and being like, yeah, this is good taste. This is good stuff. It's baffling to me.
I'm sure someone has tried to write a 9/11 musical. There's been a million 9/11 movies. And I know, like, I guess a historically inaccurate drama is different from a bafflingly historically inaccurate song and dance number, but... It is insane.
Come From Away is a Canadian musical with book, music, and lyrics by Irene Sankoff and David Hine. It is set in the week following the September 11th attacks and tells us the true story of what transpired. World's fucking wrong.
It's also Canadian, though, so it's like...
There's some distance.
There's like some weird, awkward distance, or it's like, I guess they didn't live through it in the same way. I don't know. It's just, this musical, like, I could talk about this musical forever. Everything about it is insane. Like I said, I don't know what Hamilton is like. I don't know how much of this, like, so much of it feels like a weird wink and nudge joke. It's just, especially like that, the song is like, I assume the song is the line that they keep repeating is, I could do this all day. Like, do people know that he said that?
Sure, why not?
I mean, again, it's a musical made for the meta community. It's made for the people watching the show, not the people sitting in the audience.
I mean, how about this is... So I'm on the Marvel Cinematic Universe wiki. Rogers, the musical, is a musical based on the life of Steve Rogers, the first Captain America. History, attended by the Bartons. I took the kids to New York to see a show, Clint Barton. In December 2024, Clint Barton took his children to New York City in order to spend some time with them. One of their activities was watching Rogers, the musical. He was mostly displeased with the piece of work, as it brought his mind back to Natasha Romanoff's sacrifice. He also commented on the historical inaccuracy of Ant-Man being present, later calling it quote-unquote ridiculous. The Bartons left halfway through the show. What a dumb Wikipedia article.
Insane. Absolutely insane. So they watch this musical. Also, Kate is at like some kind of like charity auction thing where they're selling off. Somehow people have Ronin's suit and sword. How they got a hold of this? I don't remember how they got a hold of this if they stay. Because they're there for a key. I forgot. I thought they were there to try and get the costume in the first place. The tracksuit mafia or whatever they are.
No, they're there for a watch. Which is, I guess,
or a
in the
watch. That's what it is. But then I think when they have it, they say like it's a key to Avengers Mansion or something. Or Avengers Tower. But like, I don't know how these people have Ronin's crap. I don't know why. Where did he put it that they got a hold of it?
I guess in Avengers
wouldn't it
Tower?
be at the Avengers? No, it would have been at the compound because they weren't using the tower. They used that tower for one movie. Iron Avengers
Man
2. I guess the tower exists as like Iron Man's Stark Tower, but like for the Avengers Tower, it's only in Avengers 2. Huh. After that, they get the compound at the end of that movie.
Oh, I don't remember any of this.
And then they have the compound, and the compound is where they would have been when he, gears up and goes time traveling with them in Endgame. And then that gets blown up by Thanos when he appears and they have the big stupid battle in a CGI wasteland. So I don't know how anyone has this costume, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know why he's so concerned about getting a hold of the costume, because they're treating it like it's going to let everyone know who was wearing it or something. But like, that's not the case. It's just a costume. What does he fucking care? Like, I understand, like, if a Ronin appears and is doing something that gets on the news, and he's like, I was Ronin, and if someone else is, like, taking my costume and doing crimes or murdering people or whatever, I want to look into that. Like, I get that. But once he knows that it's Kate, and then he tries to, like, clear her name, I don't know why he cares so much about getting hold of the costume and, like, storing it and making sure that no one can grab it.
Yeah, I mean, from what I could tell, it was just kind of like
a reason for things to happen.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to be a superhero anymore, and it's just like, oh my god, like, Ronin's out there, I was Ronin, people are gonna come after me, or anybody.
Yeah, I don't know, it just felt like a reason to get things moving, and then, like, once it's no longer I guess the third episode is when it kind of stops becoming being a thing. And I'm sure it'll come back into play at some point, but it kind of stops being a thing in the third episode. For all I know, we'll learn a greater reason for it, but it just seemed weird. Especially, like, I felt like the second episode was not really a waste of time, but just kind of like spinning wheels, I guess, or spinning plates, I guess. Because that's where he goes to the LARP thing. And, like, I'll admit that the LARP bit was entertaining, but it felt, like, completely unnecessary.
Are we still making LARP jokes like that?
I guess so. I mean, I guess in the end he admits it. Like, it's normally LARP jokes are like, haha, look at these idiots. And that's still here, but at the end he's like, that was kind of fun. And I guarantee, like, the series is probably going to end with him joining the LARP group.
But it's one of those things that, like, doesn't absolve it to me. It's just like...
if it doesn't end with him dying.
Because Role Models did that too, where, like half the movie takes place at a LARP thing. And, it kind of pokes fun, but he's like, oh, I'm getting into it and I'm having fun, whatever. But it just feels so dated to just be like, what's this LARP stupid nerd crap? You guys all dressing up as dumb little idiots? And like going through this, like, it's unoriginal. We've seen plenty of old movies where people are like, I just need to go talk to this guy. And she's like, no, we're in the middle of a serious fantasy world and do not exist. You're wearing jeans, and jeans didn't exist in this fantasy world. And it's just like, I get it, but come on.
I don't know. My bigger concern with it was that whole scene, again, while it's a little fun, I didn't really necessarily mind it. There's like, it's one joke and it goes on a little too long, but like the whole thing where everybody's attacking him and he's just like
not even trying and just
casually him. It's fine, but it's like one joke that just goes on forever, and it's like half the episode, it felt like, and it just like, it doesn't matter. Like, the costume gets stolen, and then he has to go get the costume because they needed something for him to do for half an episode. And it just kind of felt like stalling. And again, knowing that this is only 6 episodes, a lot of these, it reminds me of like a Netflix show. Not as bad, but a lot of those Netflix shows have a thing where like there's an episode where like wheels just kind of spin for a bit because they're like, we got to fill time because we didn't actually like write enough to justify the length of this series. Mm-hmm. And I felt there could have been other things that you could have had him do.
And again, like, you need to have somebody take the Ronin outfit for a reason that was innocuous. And I understand that does it, but I don't know. You could also not have that scene. and just have...
He could have gone to our apartment and grabbed
impersonate a firefighter and just take it.
And I mean, what does he do for half an episode? And I guess part of that plays into her whole thing where it's like, you could be the more personable, down-to-earth Avenger. And so that was like his like little bit of like, I guess I'm getting along with people. But like, in the end, if it's all just stalling for time, it could have been something of like him being like, I got to figure out what to do with this suit, and figuring out something like maybe we learn a little more. I don't know. It was just like a thing where I was just like, this feels like wasting time to me. And I was kind of annoyed with it. Same thing, a weird criticism, not really weird, but a criticism of the show for me is there is a lot of, I don't know if it's pronounced, I think it's Aja, David Aja, who did art for the Hawkeye series with Matt Fraction.
Yeah, all the circle motifs and... start
everything from the credits and the logo and the colors and there's a lot of stuff in here that is just like clearly aping his stuff. And I know based on seeing stuff from him that like he's not really credited. I didn't really look to
I
see
heard
the
that
names
too.
or the
I just
credit.
kind of saw people.
I'm sure he's in there, but
when
like,
it first came out, I remember people talking on Twitter about like give David Aja credit or Aja.
and that's a lot of the weird stuff with like these Marvel things is that like it's work for hire, and a lot of people say like, hey, you did work for hire and you know what that is, but that's also like those deals were made before potentially any work you could do could be making this company billions of dollars.
Plus, I don't know, like as an artist, and I understand like I'm sure if I did something that then found its way in like $1 billion cinematic universe, my mind might change. But like, just like at least acknowledge me that I like was a part of this.
But it's also because like Pizza Dog, who I believe in the comic his name is Lucky. It seemed like in that one episode where she's like saying different names to him and then he
Smiles at
does
Pizza
this
Dog.
weird doggy grin to Pizza Dog. That might have been definitively naming him, but I believe he's called Pizza Dog, but I think his name is Lucky.
We don't hear any
I
other.
could be wrong.
We don't hear any other name. I don't think. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying like in the comic, I believe his name is Lucky, but I could be. It's been a long time since I've read Hawkeye, which is a very good series.
We kind of talked about this a tiny bit lately. What's your opinion on when she's like going through she's like redesigning his costume, and she designs his like comic costume, and she's like, hey, and then there's an H on your forehead for Hawkeye, and you have wings for your, like, you were saying before that with the Spider-Man trailer, you're like, we get it, comics are stupid, like, stop trying to hide from it. Is this hiding from it, or is this...
I knew I was going to get asked this.
Good.
And it's weird. I think that scene in and of itself is innocuous. I think my problem with it is the Marvel Universe as a whole, in that, like, the comic booky stuff usually can't be there without, like, some kind of, like, bit. I think this bit is fine. I agree. Hawkeye's costume is stupid as much as I love it.
I hate it, and it's stupid.
It's a stupid looking costume. I love that costume. And I hate that he doesn't wear it anymore. He wears the stupid purple fucking sunglasses and he looks like a fucking dipshit.
Mm-hmm.
I love the stupid little Wolverine cowl and the dumb H on his head. And I like when he has like one like chainmail arm and the other arm is like unsleeved. I love that. And like that little bit, it's like fine. But I guess I find it kind of annoying just because like I can't have that stuff because that stuff is looked at as stupid. And I don't know. Like we've said in other stuff, like the comic booky stuff is what I love about these. And I feel like these try so hard to divorce from a lot of that. And in a show like this, it's completely fine. The show is so grounded. Mm-hmm. What's it matter? But I don't know. I don't think that costume outside of the giant H on his forehead is any more stupid than the Falcon Captain America costume, which I think works in the show, but it's also just like kind of ridiculous looking. It looks more superhero-y than anything anyone else has worn in these movies. And so it's a little weird. It's not as bad as the other example I gave you with the Spider-Man trailer where everybody's like, Doc Ock is a fucking stupid fucking name for nerds. What a dumb nerd. Who names himself Otto Octavius? What a dumb, stupid, made-up name that someone said. How fucking stupid. And they all point and laugh at him and do wank-off motions. I hate that shit. This isn't that, but it does kind of rub me the wrong way.
Wait till the Marvel Cinematic Universe fans come across Blackagar Boltigan. That's when we'll rise up.
But the whole reason I brought up the dog though is just he feels like he's there because he's in the comic. I'm sure he's going to have a point.
I'm sure he'll have a point, but
in 3 episodes he's just there because he is in the comic.
Was he in the first episode? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's where Kate gets him. She like sees him in the street at the beginning of the episode.
She saves him, and then
But then she saves him by the end, and takes him in. And like, there's a couple things again, judging it only halfway through, but like, I was very, very intrigued. I think the 3rd episode is great from start to finish.
I think the second one is fairly rough, or at least that's where I started kind of getting a little bored or whatnot. But I thought the 1st and 3rd were very good. And honestly, again, I think the 2nd episode was kind of boring. But for a little under 3 hours or whatever it took to watch these 3 episodes, I didn't really feel the length when watching them. They all kind of ended, and usually with a lot of these things, I'll just be like, and end, nope, and end, nope, and come on, what more can we do? But this, they all kind of end on cliffhangers. They all kind of end on kind of in the middle of action or tension, which I think helped me.
I think the 3rd episode is very good. I do think they all not really felt long, but there was a point where I thought they were over, and then I was like, oh, we still got a bit to go.
See, I didn't
not that there was
really
like
have that.
anything wrong, but there was just like a moment where I felt like it was almost done and it wasn't. But I don't know. I like the third one. I really like Echo. In this, so far, she's only known as Maya. There's a weird bit in her flashback. It mentions her uncle. And I don't know if that's going to pay off. I feel like it has to, because why would you even reference it if it doesn't, except for like a nerd thing, which I find annoying for what it is. In the comics, she's like the adopted daughter, I believe, of Kingpin. And that was, if not Vincent, whatever his name is, who played Kingpin in Daredevil, it's made to look a lot like him. And it sounded kind of like his voice when he says something to her in the flashback. And it felt like a weird thing to just like reference that without doing anything with it. So I feel like that's going to bring him in. But it was just like a weird little bit. But like, I thought all of her stuff was good. I like seeing, there's a lot of sign language. There's a lot of her like reading lips, and she's just like very observant because she has to watch people, which I thought was neat.
It was kind of weird after Eternals and being like, man, there's a lot of sign language. Like, good for them. But like, it's just one of those things where, wow, there's like a ton of sign language anymore. To the point where there was times where I think like Kazi or whatever his name is was like talking and signing or whatever, and sometimes they were just like, we don't want to always have make them read subtitles, so we'll have like one person talk and then the other person respond, and I was just like, no man, fucking commit. All sign language all the time.
Yeah, I agree. But like, as far as I know, she's not missing a leg in the comics.
That's the woke stuff?
No, the only reason I was going to bring it up is when she tells Clint that he relies too much on technology. And I was like, lady, you have a prosthetic leg. That's like, I agree with I understand your point, but I'm just like, you're complaining that he's using a hearing aid when he's not even fully deaf. But like, they're missing a leg and you've got a prosthetic leg and you're ragging on him. But I was annoyed. She breaks his hearing aid and I was like, I was very interested. I was like, finally, he's going to have to deal with being deaf because there's nothing about his hearing aid. He turns it off during Rogers, and a couple times he says, like, I'm on this, like, when he's walking with Kate, he's like, I'm standing on this side so I can hear you.
But that never comes into play. That's just like, no. That's just a shorthand thing. And then, yeah, he'll turn it off when talking to Kate when he doesn't want to deal with her. But I agree that it's just kind of wrapped up, and I don't know what else they would do. And honestly, I
thought he would go through the rest of the episode, or rest of the series being deaf. Like, one, it gives him like an interesting handicap that he has to learn.
But you need Kate and him to have. He's not supposed, like, he'll grow in this show, but it's Kate's show.
Yeah, but like, I guess I really like the scene where he's on the phone with his son.
No, I know. That's one of the best scenes in the whole show so far.
Yes. And she has to tell him what his son is saying because he can't hear him. And I think that's interesting. And same thing, like when they're in the car, it's played for a joke in the car, but like he can't hear her. And so she's saying stuff to him and he can't hear her.
She's trying to figure out kind of like
arrows, what blindly shooting arrows and stuff. I thought all that stuff was interesting. And I thought it would be way more interesting if they have to, like, if that's his thing, like, it's weird that Kate's still around. Like, I get why she is. But in the end, he's just like, I guess we're in this together because it's a TV show and we have to be. And it would have been more interesting if he was like, he has to learn to rely on her and they have to become actual partners because he needs her to help him because he's handicapped and he has to learn. And like, I would also like to see, like, working with, because Echo's a hero in the comics. I don't know. I know she's getting a show, but I don't know if she's going to remain a villain in this or not, but like,
I assume not, because
I'd like to see him learn to accept his handicap, and him in the same episode having his hearing aid broken and then fixed. I was just like, well, what's the point? Like, we got a lot of really good scenes, but like, what did we actually do with it other than just like show an idea? We didn't really explore the idea. And I don't know, again, like introducing Echo and having her sign everything is good. Why not put that on one of the main heroes of the MCU as well?
Mm-hmm. That's what the Eternals was for.
And it could break again. I'm sure it will. Like, there's no way they're going to introduce this and only have one episode that does something, but we're halfway through the series and it was fixed immediately.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I agree with you that I'd like to see a lot more of that. And my favorite scenes, I think, were when he lost his hearing aid. But you need to have back and forth with Kate, and this is what you always do when I complain about stuff like this, where you're just like, it's a show, this is like, it has to do this kind of stuff, and like I said, what more do? You have the comedy scene when they're in the car and shooting arrows, you have the touching scene when he's talking to his son. I figured as soon as I saw Maya and she was deaf, and I was like, oh, that's why Clint signs to his son. Like, he's going to have some sign language discussion with Echo, probably.
And then he immediately is like, I don't know any more sign language.
But that was weird, because I assumed that there was going to be something to do with, you mentioned Echo's getting her own show and stuff like that, and I figured, I mean, I don't know Hawkeye. I never read Fraction and Aja's stuff. I never really read any Hawkeye stuff, so I'm completely out of my.
The death thing is from Fraction's run as well.
But it's something that, like, I assumed, or after you told me that Echo's getting her own show and whether or not she'll stay a villain or what's going to happen with her, I assume he would talk to her in sign language and, do some, like, turn your life around. Yeah. I really don't know what else they could have done that they didn't do in those two scenes and could have still had Clint kind of guide Kate to being the new Hawkeye.
I guess I disagree. Like, what more do you do? I guess the
answer is you can come up with anything.
Well, and you can also just like continue doing the same thing. Like, just because he had a scene where he couldn't hear his son on the phone, and he had a scene where he couldn't communicate properly with Kate because he's deaf, like, you can continue doing that. You can have him, learn to communicate with her, learn to, like, he seemed to have been partners with Nat. Like, you could use that to explore, like, making a new partnership with Kate built on a new version of trust because he has to rely on her for things he didn't have to rely on Nat for. Similarly, like,
That's fair.
It's just weird. And I was thinking, like, he could learn also, like, like I said before, Maya is able to just, like, kind of observe people. He could learn some of that as well, just watching her or from her or something. Although I don't know what it is in this versus the comics. In the comics, I believe Echo is like Taskmaster, where she can just watch someone and do what they do. Whether that's the case here or not, I don't think so. I think, like I said, in Black Widow, Taskmaster had to be, I download things into my brain. In this, it seems like they did the opposite, where they took that, not photographic, but whatever it is, memory, and instead turned it into she's just very observant. And that could be different. For all I know, she's going to pick up a bow and shoot exactly like them. But that doesn't seem to be the case. But, like, I don't know. You could do stuff with them. Even, like, again, you don't even need to do anything with it. It could just be he's fucking deaf. Just, like, go with it.
Well, and that's the other, like, I think I would have liked to see more stuff like that. I'm fine with them, with the scenes I got. But I think my biggest disappointing takeaway from the whole ordeal is that him losing his hearing aid feels like a much bigger thing than it was. It feels like something that's more than one episode, or more than, 30 minutes or half an episode or whatever it is.
And they know that it is, because even
they need
with
to fix
the fixing
it
of the hearing aid, they have to, they have to go to some weird, like, back alley paying cash thing to get it fixed. And I thought when they were sitting there eating dinner and he didn't have or eating lunch or whatever, and they didn't have the hearing aid in at the time, I thought, okay,
they're waiting for it to get fixed,
but it's going to be, an episode or two before it is ready. But then he's just like, nope, never mind. It happened between scenes. I just didn't put it in.
Yeah, I think that's the stuff that was worse.
Like, again, at the end of the third episode, when Jack, who, I looked this up, I didn't know this, he's Swordmaster, which is probably why he's so good with swords.
He's a master of swords, some might say.
You could play that in when they're, like, sneaking around well, I guess they're not really sneaking. They just kind of go into her mom's apartment. But, like, you could have that where, like, he can't pay attention to his surroundings because he's deaf. And in this, he just walks and he gets cornered. And it doesn't matter, but it's just, like, again, like, that's something you can use it for. Put him at a disadvantage because he hasn't learned how to adapt to it yet.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, again, I guarantee that thing's going to either break or someone's going to, it's going to get knocked out of his head or something before the end of the series. There's no way that's the only episode that has him deaf. I'll be baffled if it is. But it just felt like a really weird thing to just, like, resolve it within the same episode.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
I was just a little disappointed.
I totally agree.
Is there anything else? I mean, that's kind of everything outside of, like, going into the details of all the fighting and stuff. There's some fun fighting.
There's, like, the Children of Men
really
scene
fun.
where the one where they're doing the arrows, where there's, like, camera in the car and it keeps spinning around. That was really good.
It was. The CGI is bad.
And it was in daytime, and that was good. Yeah, the, like, putty CGI.
All the arrow effects looked really bad. That and the, like, purple gas.
Yeah.
And by bad, I just mean, like, TV quality. It's, like, good or adequate for TV quality, but it was just something where I was just like, ugh.
Especially since I think that's kind of a problem with the MCU going into these, like, streaming TV shows, is that we've seen all these movies that have bigger budgets and shorter runtimes. We've kind of come to expect a certain quality that is probably just not really feasible in probably a little bit smaller budget with a longer runtime. But we always complain about the quips. And honestly, I don't really know if there was one that I felt was problematic. I think maybe the USB arrow, but that was at least, like, part of a solution.
It's a tie-in to What If, because he uses it in that.
And everyone was like, that's not how USBs work. And they're like,
I don't understand. It seems like he still is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent or a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent equivalent since S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist
and
anymore.
he has
it seems like he's still employed.
Crap.
Because he talks about it as, like, he says, like, my job is, not my job was. So it doesn't seem like he's retired like it seemed like he wanted to be in some of the movies I believe said he was retired. It's weird because, like, he retires and now he has all this crap. Like, what's he using a USB arrow for? What's he using any of this stuff for? And it's like fine, but it's just like
download his
he never
nudes
used
off
it before
his
when he was
phone.
he was never using this stuff when he was an Avenger on any of these like wild missions. Like, did he fire a single trick arrow?
I don't think so.
In the entirety of the Marvel universe.
He just did that thing where he like jumps backwards off a building and then shoots an arrow in the air upwards.
He had like grapple arrows, or at least like arrows with a rope tied to them, which in Avengers, that may have been something he made on the fly.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that was something in his
arsenal
quiver. And he may have had like exploding arrows, but I think that's it. I don't think he
didn't have like trick arrows.
And like, it's fun to see him. I'm glad we're seeing him now. That is,
it's more interesting than just like, I can shoot targets really well. Especially when that's like now Kate's thing. But yeah, I don't know. I was fine.
It's just weird that like we're seeing it now. Again, it's the Marvel universe now wanting to be the comic book stuff that it was too ashamed to do before. And it's part of me is like, yeah, we're finally seeing it, so I'm happy. But the other part of me is like, I don't know. You made your bed.
Yeah,
fucking sit.
I mean, we've said that a lot recently. But I didn't mind a lot of the quips. I know there was probably more bits of Clint that were supposed to be played for laughs, but I was just like so enamored with his just not wanting to be in this. That worked way more than I'm sure everybody else watching these differently than I am are sitting there probably laughing a bunch and, oh, he's just kind of being like a dick. But I was like, yeah, this makes total sense.
I couldn't remember what, but there was something that I laughed out loud at. I don't even remember if it was him or Kate, but there was like something that I actually like laughed at.
I will say, I think Kate had I don't remember what it was, but I don't know if I laughed in it, but I think Kate had a good joke at some point. Unfortunately, I don't quite remember it, so it couldn't have been that good. But I do remember there was something that I was like, that was a good bit. I will say, and this is a me thing, not necessarily a poor thing in the show thing, but I will say, I don't care. I think she's getting better each episode, and she'll probably be fine at the end. But I didn't care for Kate a lot at the beginning. I'm kind of uninterested in this, like, bratty kid hero.
I was worried that it was going to be what they usually do with their characters that they want to be. It's so great. Like, now we have the female Hawkeye, and she's just as good, if not better, than the normal Hawkeye. I don't have a problem with that, but there's a lot of just, like, shorthand, which is just, like... I thought it was going to be Clint being like, you need to stay home, I don't trust you. And she's like, you can trust me, I'm the rambunctious little kid. And then she, like, shows up and saves the day, and the show is going to ignore that she's fucked up already, and her, like, helping doesn't change the fact that her fucking up earlier. But the show seems to acknowledge a lot that she helps at the end in the third episode, but there's a lot of her, like, a lot of this is because of her screwing stuff up, and she shouldn't.
Well, and the scene where she's writing down what his son says since he can't hear him is a very pivotal point for her character, I feel. And that kind of quickly grows her up, and she's like, oh, this is like kind of a broken man, and he's really struggling, and yeah, I can't just like go through the world and go happy-go-lucky. I think there's a problem with the opening scene with her where she blows up like the bell tower.
Because she blows up a
because
bell
it's
tower
too big.
Just by, well, yeah, but I also...
It's almost like comical. Like, for as grounded as the show is...
She causes the bell to do what it is designed to do, and then it all falls apart because it needs to have a funny scene where she
it
does something and has to learn a lesson.
But it's something that it's like, it's too big for me to take seriously, especially since all the other times I feel like she's just kind of like doing what she wants. And like you said, like the show doesn't try to forget that she didn't make a mistake, but at the same time, in my eyes, I'm just like, I kind of forget about that mistake because it's too goofy. It's too big.
I forgot about it until she mentioned it to Hawkeye.
Yeah. As kind of like a passing.
I thought he was going to question it, but apparently it had already been explained to him or something because he just kind of like rolls it off.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten that it happened. That's the whole reason she's like like her credit card being canceled doesn't seem to matter. Nothing like that scene seems to exist to be like, look at this girl getting in over her head and nothing beyond it. Because like she gets in trouble with her mom and then her mom's like, oh, you. Like, I canceled your credit cards, and I thought that was going to be a thing where, like, she wasn't going to be able to get out of a jam, but so far it doesn't matter.
Yeah, all it is like a bit where she goes, hey, can you pay for this? Or I'd put you up in a hotel or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. At the beginning, I mean, she's kind of grown on me, which is good. But at the beginning, I was kind of done with the snarky, like, cocky teenage brat. And I was trying to think.
Yeah, I think she gets out of that the second she gets in over her head. Once she puts on the Ronin suit, I think she stops kind of like sighing heavily and rolling her eyes.
I agree, but then when she's not wearing the Ronin suit, I think she kind of goes back to that.
Because I think with Hawkeye, like, her stuff isn't even like, it's not the typical like, oh, the adults don't trust me, I can do anything, I'm not just a kid. It's more just like hero worship. She's just excited to be around Hawkeye.
And I guess it's something that I just responded better to Clint in his just general
apathy.
I'm done with this. This isn't a game. Like, he has that whole scene where he's like, I'm not a role model, things like that. And it's just kind of, I responded better to that. And so, especially juxtaposed with Kate, where she's so kind of hero worship, definitely, and a little more like, she said, her mom says that thing about kids are stupid when they're young and they're stupid when they're rich, and you're both, and like stuff like that. It just, I don't know. As a main character of a show, and as long as it kind of went on in that first episode and a little bit more, I think, in the second, I think it was something that I was just like, I just don't care for this main character. I just don't want it.
I think my thing with the first episode was less her and more just the fact that I felt like Clint wasn't really anything. You get like 1 or 2 scenes with his family and then he's out of it, and that's fine. But it was also something like, I get that this is that this is Kate's show,
and she's a new
more
character.
Than Clint's. But, like, Clint is also, like, the one Avenger we don't really know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
A pivotal thing in Age of Ultron is that he has a secret family that no one knew about. And so, like, to have a show about him that didn't really focus on him, but then the remaining episodes do focus a little more on him. It's still definitely Kate's show, and that is fine. But it's just something like, I don't know. I was never interested in about Hawkeye until a show existed to finally, like, be like, let's tell you stuff about Hawkeye. I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm interested in this Hawkeye who's done with it.
But it's only because they can't market a show called Bishop. I mean, that's true.
That's true, but it's also just like because Hawkeye is a thing. Like, she is Hawkeye. Like,
True.
That's part of the joke of his series, is that it's
about her.
It's his book more than hers, but it's about both of them.
I guess that's fair, especially if it's heavily based on the Fraction run. But again, I probably have a little bit of bias here, but I think Clint had enough to do in the first episode. You're right, he doesn't really do much. He just kind of interacts with his family and stuff, but I felt it painted him in a good light for me as a character I wanted to know more about, and I wanted to kind of interact with more. I feel like we missed something in the third episode, but probably not. There's a lot of action in the third episode.
Yeah, it's primarily an action episode. I don't really remember what else. I don't even remember what they were going to her mom's house because she owns a security company and she has like a bunch of data on criminals or something. And so they were going to look up the interpreter for Maya.
And then she tries to rescue Clint and botches it. Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, I feel like there was like another, I mean, the whole episode couldn't have just been that, but I really don't know what.
I think it kind of was, because the second episode ends with her falling through the ceiling and then revealing Echo. And then the third episode is a lot of conversation at the beginning, then the breakout, and they fight in the warehouse for a little bit, which I thought that fight was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He does a lot of fun arrow stuff, and that thing where she like slides on the ground and the thing that is completely ridiculous and does not apply physics in any way.
Where she spins around the column.
Yeah.
Well, and there's like the scene where she's watching Clint through like the office windows and he gets like knocked out of the door and the dolly shot is just kind of through that view. I mean, there was good stuff there.
Speaking of dolly shots, that abandoned KB Toys had so many toys still in there.
Yeah, you'd think KB Toys like paid them for with the money they don't have. Yeah, I guess you're right though that it's really just like inside the KB Toys, the car chase, and then the earpiece stuff. Yeah, then there's the sword.
Bada bing, bada boom. So, Seth, give me 2 put-ups and a put-down.
Well, my first put-up's going to be the Children of Men scene when they're in the car and the circling camera. I thought, one, that was technically cool. I love stuff like that. I mean, that's like one of the best parts of Children of Men for me. I think they did some good, interesting stuff with it. The like arrow bit was good, where she's like just taking arrows and he can't really hear what she's saying and all that jazz.
He also seems like so competent now. Not that he wasn't competent before, but again, he was just like kind of a guy who shot arrows, and now he's like,
he's a superhero.
He's driving this car.
Yeah, he's capable.
Yeah,
he feels really capable.
It's superhero stuff.
He's supercharged.
He seems believable as someone who could be on the Avengers.
You know, I even liked the quip where he's like hot wiring the car and she's like, oh, we got to take the charger. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to bash a charger's window. Like, I don't know. I'll take that. That's a fine joke. Maybe it's because we don't know anything about these characters.
I mean, he could have just been introduced in this show for all it really
Yeah.
matters. Outside of like the couple lines about like the Avengers and his history, doesn't really matter. Especially since you could honestly go into this, I think, blind. Outside of like needing to really know who the Avengers are, like it gives you the idea of the Avengers' first adventure with New York with the opening scene.
And the musical.
And then you get the musical, which covers in the rest of the blanks. And then it kind of just runs from there.
Uh-huh. You learn why he's deaf. You have like those weird like recap shots.
Montage of a couple
of him just getting blown out of windows over and over. My second put up is going to be, there's probably other things I could do. Again, we talked about the warehouse scene and stuff like that, but I actually really liked the opening scene with the invasion of New York. I really liked seeing it through the windows. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but when the building starts to fall, they just like rotate the camera shot, but all the debris still starts to fall at an angle then, instead of continuing to fall straight down, because they just rotated the video footage rather than the entire sound stage. You hacks. But I did really like that stuff. And that's kind of what I'm getting here, where, and we've been talking about this a lot lately, where it's just like, I want to see the stories of the people in the Marvel Universe. You mentioned like, oh, these people hadn't seen aliens before, yada, yada, yada. And there's just a lot of stuff where, how do you function in a world like that, where you just like know this stuff exists? And you're just like, the Avengers are a thing. Like, we just have a superhero team that just fights intergalactic threats. And I am like, talking about an existential crisis. Like, how do you go to work the next day? You know what I mean? Where you're just like, oh yeah, I'm like a tiny little ant because they're superheroes and they just like fight aliens and protect me in my stupid little life where I just like go work for minimum wage at a fast food place. Like, fucking quit. Like, live your life. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't, it's so weird. My put down is going to be, I cannot say the musical because it, I think, is the worst part of the show for me, but in a so bad it's baffling way.
Like I said, if it is money on the table. If they do not make that something available on Disney Plus, it is absolutely baffling to me that they wouldn't. But like, I gotta see it. Like, I'm not one of those people. People always like clamor where they're like, "Oh, we need a show about this," or "Oh my gosh, they should make this thing," and I'm always just like, whatever, fan crap. But like, this is something that's just like, I gotta see this thing. Like, I gotta know what it is.
Here's the thing. So I did some research when we were talking to see if anybody else was like us that was just like, this is crazy that they would make a musical about this. As we like to throw MCU fans under the bus. People love it. It's the greatest thing. They're just like, oh my gosh, I totally geeked out during the musical.
I saw the things and I knew
There's threads about like, what do you think the Avengers would think about when, or like, how do you think they would react to the musical? And everyone's like, Tony would love it. I'm just like, Tony's fucking dead. Like, everybody fucking mourned Tony's death.
How about when they're all dancing, there's a fucking Chitauri next to like Ant-Man dancing around.
And it's just like, these people, like, this is too soon. But yeah, people love it. And you're not the only one who wants a full, not even like a 15-minute musical thing. People want an actual Broadway Spider-Man Into the Dark musical.
I think putting it on Broadway is something that I could potentially see happening, but I doubt it. I don't want that. I just think like that is an easy thing to just make
bank.
I mean, probably a full musical, but like just like a half-hour stupid musical to throw on Disney Plus. Like that is just like easy, a 15-minute short. Easy.
And it's like, what the fuck? This is crazy. What do you mean? What would all the Avengers think if they saw it? So many of them are dead. Like, think about it. We see this through Clint's eye. I still need to say a put down, by the way. This isn't how I put down, because this is...
I thought that was...
No, I said I can't say it because it's so bafflingly... Yeah. It's so bad it's good. But here's the thing. We see Clint go through his, like, PTSD watching this musical. Okay, so how would the rest of the Avengers react to it? Tony's dead. Natalie's dead. Steve's lost in time, I guess. But I guess he could still see it.
He is potentially still alive. Everyone talks about him as if he's dead, but like the last we saw him, he was just
now he's just like
he's probably in the audience.
Hawkeye wants him to be. He's what Hawkeye wants to be. So I mean, I guess I could see him being fine with it. He seems someone who's just like happy-go-lucky.
He'd probably think it's stupid and not care.
Well, he was in like he'd probably think of it kind of the same way as the same.
Thor would probably love it.
Yeah, Bruce would not.
Loki would probably love it. Bruce probably would not, but also, like, I don't know, Bruce post, like, Endgame is, like, more okay with himself. He'd probably be the one being like, this is, like, gross, you guys.
Yeah.
I take it back.
He would be us.
I was thinking, like, he's more fine with being, Hulk and everything, but, like, if that thing happened, he'd be like, this is fucking gross. Now he's dead.
Tony is dead.
Dead.
We've lost a ton of people. You can't just sing around the fact, like, hey, we saved New York and we beat the Chitauri. And it's like, everyone in the audience is like, yeah, half of the world was vanished for, like, 4 years. Sing about that.
like we said, they left halfway through. Where do you go from there other than, I don't know, taking down S.H.I.E.L.D., something that no one knows, in the fucking Thanos snap? There is a song
called Thanos
where Thanos
Snap.
sings like a fucking Disney villain, sings some song about how he wants to snap away 50% of the population. He has a bunch of like mooks dancing behind him as he sings the song, and they like turn on a spotlight and cast a giant shadow like Scar in the song that he sings with the hyenas.
You know what the worst part is? People...
I gotta see this.
Here's the thing. We would hate write a musical. If we were in charge of this, we would hate write this musical and be like, this is the worst thing anyone could ever do. And we would put that
But
up.
we would also acknowledge within it how gross it is.
We would sit there and just be like, this is like the worst thing. But if Disney actually made it, people would love it. People would be like, I know that thing. They mentioned his ass. Hysterical. It's like its own character. And it'd be like,
Ass of America.
they mentioned America's ass in literally the song where Thanos killed half the people in the audience. You can't do that. You can't sit there and be like, remember America's ass? And be like, my friend died right there. What if during like they're singing the song where Steve's at Tony's funeral and that kid that Tony calls a pussy is like, that's a good ass. And then they go into a musical number on that, and people would love it. People would be like, oh my God, this is hysterical. It makes so much sense.
What if they make Stark the musical, and then there's a whole song where he calls that kid
You're
pussy?
such a fucking pussy. It's so funny. What are other jokes I hate? Don't make a song.
Anyway, what's your put down?
I don't fucking know. I got to read through this summary of episode 2. I didn't care for the LARP scene. 1, I think it's kind of a waste of time. 2, I don't think it absolves the fact that they sit there and be like, look at these fucking nerds. I think you can do like, this is a weird thing, and like people take this seriously and whatnot. I'm not immune to making jokes on this stuff, but 1, I think it's a cheap laugh. I think it's been done a ton. I think I've seen these jokes all before, and I think when he's in the actual LARP, it's whatever. I actually don't hate the bit where the guy who has the Ronin suit is just like, dude, I'll give you the suit. Just let me this is like my dream right now. Like, let me just kill you here. And they do like the trial. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with him just kind of going through. It's a little boring to watch. And I think it's a waste of a scene. But really, when he first gets there is when it feels just like a 90s comedy movie, like an R-rated 90s comedy that's just like, look at these fucking nerds. And they're just like, oh, you have to put on this goofy armor. And he's like, are you kidding me? And they're all just like, womp womp. And it's like,
here's your scroll that dictates your character, which I didn't understand how that worked because everybody, like, as soon as he walks out, everybody's just like,
it's just like, yeah, like
on each other.
The one woman acts like, oh, you can't go in there until it's done at like midnight. And he's like, no, he was even just like, dude, he stole my suit. Like he stole that from me. And she's just like, yeah, but this is like a different realm. And it's like, what if he stole like $50 from me? You wouldn't let me get this $50 back? Like, you wouldn't let the police in if there was like some turmoil? You'd just be like, whoa, we have to solve it through a monarchy guillotine. It's just dumb. So that's my put down.
There's also a weird thing when they do the trial by combat where the girl who announces it is like, whoever
wins
wins
the suit
gets the suit. And I was like, that's not the conditions. And I was like, oh no, is this going to be a thing where he kills him and then he doesn't give him the suit back? And then we have to like watch as he like chases this guy down or something. It's going to be stupid. But then it was done with.
Yeah, I guess it's just something to give that guy like clout or whatever. But it was weird afterwards to just be like, that's not what it is. And that doesn't even have to be like, to me, it felt more like a, let me beat you, Hawkeye. Like, let me be a superhero. It was less about the suit. And I mean, that's why he was like, dude, I'll give you the suit regardless. Let me just fight you. Like, that's awesome. That's a dream of mine.
So my first put up is also going to be the chase scene. I'm going to lump it into the entirety of the action chunk of episode 3. I think the whole warehouse fight scene is fun. Like you said, there's a lot of good stuff with like watching him through the windows, and he does a lot of cool arrow maneuvers, and Kate does that thing where she like swings around. And it's a lot of fun. And then the car chase scene is just great. It's filmed well. There's a lot. We get to finally see trick arrows, and they're weird and fun, and I liked it. It's a lot of fun. Second put up, the scene where Kate helps him on the phone with his son. I thought that was a good scene.
That's probably better than the opening scene, but I'll let you have that one.
I thought it was touching. I thought it was like a good use of like their dynamic and like something that she can give to him that he doesn't. Like, it was the closest I thought I saw to like a partnership forming between them. Even though it was like for just something as small as talking to his son, it was something that,
like I said, it was a pivotal moment for her. I think that's one of the rare moments that the MCU slows down. I thought it took its time with, like, it hit in every way it needed to. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like they're just like, we got to get to the action. We got to get to cooler stuff. It felt like that was the purpose of the episode.
But my put down is that his hearing aid gets broken and fixed in the same episode.
In like 20 minutes.
I think it is a humongous missed opportunity. And it just, once he got it fixed, I was just like, what was the point? Like, 2 really good scenes, but like, it makes it all seem pointless. It was like the same as like blindfolding him for, an action scene. It was just like a weird thing where I was just like, why not just like remove it from him? Like, because Echo's right. She's like, you're relying too much on technology. And I thought like, yeah, get rid of that thing. Like, learn to embrace your handicap and learn to live with it and make use of it.
See, I was on his side.
I think like in the real world, if I was hard of hearing like him or deaf, like I would want a hearing aid. I get that. I just think like from a storytelling perspective, and as something as, again, like humanizing people with disabilities, like making one of the main Avengers accept this disability and embrace it and live with it, I think is not just like interesting to me as just like a viewer, but I think that's like something important for people with handicaps that want to see themselves in these things.
And I mean, it's probably just because she's presented as an antagonist at the time or forever or whatnot, but like it felt like an antagonistic thing to do. Like I wasn't sitting there saying, yeah, she's right. It's that whole argument of like, hey, now you can be normal. And it's just like, you are normal. It's a fine line between like disability, where it is like, yeah, it's a disability, but you're not incapable of any, you're capable, you're normal, yada, yada, yada. And so I agree with that sentiment, but I think because it's coming from her, because it's so aggressive and stuff like that, I was just like...
I guess I didn't feel it was aggressive. I felt like it was just like an observation.
See, I felt it was
a line to lead into, it was like a foreshadowing line for it to get broken that episode.
Yeah, but to me, it felt like a Falcon and Winter Soldier thing, where it was just like, down with technology. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this, tell a friend. If you didn't, then lie to a friend. Check us out on Twitter at SoHowAbout. You can find me on Twitter at SethKumpf. You can find Andrew on Twitter at TessuDownist. And subscribe to us on YouTube at SoHowAbout.
And join us next time when we do this once more with Interference.
Watcher.
Hey, what's up, Andrew? Next time, we're going to watch episodes 4, 5, and 6. The second half of Hawkeye. We don't even know the episode titles yet, because we're watching it live. We're not posting it live, but we're watching it live. Do you think we're still going to like it?
Track record says no, but the strength of these 3, I mean, I have high hopes.
I do too, actually.
I thought, like I said, I think the second episode is a lot of plate spinning, but I mean, in the end, for the 3 hours I put into it, I thought I got a lot of that 3 hours back.
I agree. I think there was a time where I felt I was kind of done with it. I was kind of bored. I was kind of tired. But I think this is the most I've enjoyed the MCU in a long, long time.
Hopefully it's a sign of better things to come, but probably not. It's probably just a fluke.
Flash in the pan.